What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, it feels like Plarium lost the plot. They completely lost their mind, or at least it feels like it. Now, they released the Fusion calendar. I'm trying to be positive here, so I'm going to explain you the good and I'm going to explain you the bad at the same time. But of course, as usual, it tends to be a bit more bad than good. And I checked with them to make sure that this is correct and is 100% correct. And I don't know, man. It feels like this might be the easiest skip in the history of Raid Shadow Legends. And not because the champion is bad, okay? Not because the champion is bad. It's just because of how this fusion event is structured, okay? It's nothing similar with anything else that we had in the past. And yeah, we're going to go over it. And you guys let me know your opinion in the comments down below. But personally, I am very, very close to skip this fusion, okay? Just because, look at this. If you go at the news, Yu-Gi-Oh's Fragment Event, and you're going to basically see all the details. Or at least I've seen it somewhere. They announced it in the game, but seems like I don't have the news anymore in here. For whatever reason, I have no idea why. But you know what? Let me rectify the whole situation. This is the Fragment Event calendar, guys. And how you may notice, on the left side of the screen, you have fragments available. Total 110. 10 of them come from tournament leaderboards, which are inaccessible for the 99.99% of the player base, which means that you cannot skip any event whatsoever. That's the bad part. The good part is that we don't have a champion chase tournament. We only have one summon rush to complete. So, in a way or another, it kind of makes this fusion similar with what we had before, just minus one of the events that most of the people would maybe either skip, either just do a part of it, you know? I personally prefer the champion chase tournament because it's more accessible to get it completed. I can do some fusions like epics, what I have saved up, or maybe even a previous fusion, fragment fusion that I had saved up. I can get points in different ways. For the summon rush, it's going to be extremely hard to get to the 20 fragments, especially if they put it at a mark of like 5k points or something like that. So hear me out. You don't need this champion, okay? If you really want the champion, probably you're going to have to break the bank, break all the resources that you have available on your account. And that is absolutely fine. I would personally save my resources for the next fusion, which hopefully is going to be better than this champion and at the same time more accessible. Initially, I tend to judge the champions pretty harsh, okay? Because if they don't have much use in the end game, I know progression is absolutely important, it's part of the game. But a champion's true value is when it's eternal, when you can use it all the time in the game. And when the champions don't have that, for me, they actually drop a lot of value, regardless the fact that they are amazing for progression. Just let me put it out there. That's how I'm basically looking at every single champion that comes to Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, we do have good-looking champions, interesting champions, and we have very nice champions. And it's normal for every single game to don't have all the champions OP or anything like that. Now, I'm not saying that this champion cannot benefit a lot of you guys out there, because it can 100%, like any other fusion that we had in the past. But just seeing this model of a fusion, it puts me off personally. Not being able to skip any event whatsoever, and it's a fragment event, which means that if you miss five fragments, you effed. But of course, you do have the option later on to purchase them. The game will actually prompt you with an offer. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about the whole thing. I already kind of know the answers that you guys are going to put in the comments down below. And you know what? It's hard to disagree with you guys. Yes, exactly 100 fragments. If you're missing an event, you busted. We do have 3 artifact enhancement events, which tend to be pretty hard. They require a lot of silver. We have 2 dungeon divers events, which honestly, I don't think is going to be the biggest problem for this particular fusion. But if we are going to go back to the game quickly to show you how the events are looking, they do seem to be pretty normal. But you don't know what to expect from the summon rush, okay? So the spider tournament, 2,250 points, which is very typical, is very normal for all the fusions. It's kind of like the right place from where you're going to get the fragments, that amount of points. And when we are looking at the events, champion training event, this time around, the fragments are split into 3, right? So initially, I didn't saw the ones at 8,000. I was like, okay, this actually looks good because nothing goes over 6,000. But then there are 5 more here. So you would require to reach 8,250 points in here, which again is pretty typical for any other fusion. Then you have the Dungeon Divers event, which honestly, again, is not too bad comparing it with what we had the last few months, okay? Some of them were close to 5k, some of them were over 4k. So 3,700 points is fairly decent. It's not the best, of course, because we had much better ones at 3,000, 3,300, etc. But it doesn't look like this is going all the way to 5k. But at the same time, because there's always that freaking but, you don't know what they are planning to do with Dungeon Divers Event 2. Dungeon Divers Event 2. There's no third in there. Maybe that one is going to be at 5k points. Usually they tend to be at the same amount of points, but you never know. It can always be a surprise that will actually block you. It will stop you from completing the fusion. Now, I'm expecting the Summon Rush right here to have around 4 to 5k points. So that's the equivalent of around 10 sacreds. So if you don't have the equivalent of 10 sacreds in points, it doesn't matter what shard they are. They can be primal, they can be voids, mix and match, whatever you guys feel like it. If you don't have the equivalent of roughly 4k points in shards, I wouldn't even consider the fusion. Now, of course, we do have the event that starts tomorrow, and that will be the new model of 15x, 20x, 25x, and the champions, they are decent. Usually with fusions, we don't have the best champions in there, and don't get me wrong, we do have some nice champions. Like we have Theodore, we have Steltus in there, we have Negmotar, great for Hydra, Sneak Track, pretty interesting. Kantra was a past fusion, but a lot of you guys were not playing at that time. Countess Leaks was a guaranteed before. She's decent, but she's not an eternal champion, okay, basically. And same with Kantra, even though you can use her in Hydra, she's an okay champion, okay? Let me just put it like that. I'm not dissing on Kantra because she can actually do some work. But they're not those S tier champions that you might want to go and grab, you know? You don't want to break the bank. Nekmo is actually one of the best Hydra champions, so we can definitely give him credit for that. The next thing to keep in mind, the Doom Tower, the new rotation for the Doom Tower is nowhere close to this one. So if you completed the hard mode already and you collected the rewards before and maybe you used them, you're not going to be able to get new rewards from here, like sacred shards or anything like that. Depending by every single one of you, of course, with your monthlies, how far ahead you are into the monthly quests and the stuff like that, we will require a lot of shards. And the problem is you cannot skip anything whatsoever. Sorry, I just clicked on the wrong thing there. The tournaments look good, so it's not much to tell you here. You will need tons of energy, roughly around 20k plus energy. That can be in gems, can be in saved energy. Of course, you're gonna get roughly 1k energy each one of the days that you're playing for the next 14 days or so. The fusion usually lasts 2 weeks, so you're gonna get that energy. That won't be necessarily the problem. I'm not sure if they're gonna block us at the second Dungeon Divers. Silver-wise, you're roughly going to need around 40 to 45 million silver. It really depends on how lucky and unlucky you are to complete the events. Of course, you don't have to max the events. And I'm not sure how high they're going to put the requirements, the milestones to collect the fragments from there. Champion training tournament, I'm not expecting anything spectacular out of there in terms of collecting the fragments from the milestones. Same with the classic arena takedowns. So honestly, in a way, it looks like really bad, okay, because you only have 100 fragments. But then if you think about it, that you usually just try to do one summoning event is not that bad. That's why I said at the beginning, the good and the bad. But for whoever doesn't have the equivalent of this amount of shards to go for the summon rush, there is no way around it. So probably you will skip the fusion. And that's why this might be the easiest fusion we had in the game, because it's an easy skip for probably more than 90% of the player base, guys, okay? I do want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. how I mentioned, I do try to stay positive as well with all the things hitting us left and right. And yeah, sometimes it's just hard. Now the champion itself, the one question: would you drop one of your key champions from your current team to replace him with this champion? Do you get enough value from the increased accuracy or the increased defense and increased attack on your champions to make you drop another key champion from your team for him? That's the main question that will actually allow you to decide if this fusion will give value to your account. I know it's interesting to have increased defense and increased accuracy on your nukers as well, like Harima, like Ragash, or other defense-based nuker that you might be using that require accuracy as well to land debuffs. I know you can dodge the low awakening of polymorph in the lower tiers of arena by giving him some resistance, but then you need resistance, then you need accuracy, then you need speed, you need survivability on the champion. So building champions with a lot of stats, which are very needy champions like this, it gets harder and harder for the majority of you guys out there, Then the second question, looking at the A2, think about it in the following way. How much value is Madame Series giving to your account for Arena? How often are you using Madame Series on your account? And that should give you a very good perspective of how much value will this champion bring to your account with this skill, okay? And yes, you remove buffs, you put a weaken. Now, some of you guys might be like, well, Skratch, he's going to be great for my bomb champion. I'm getting increased accuracy and increased attack. Definitely not a bad thing, but there are quite a few different champions that can do that, and they might do it better because of the speed aura or other things that are in their kit, So keep that in mind. But maybe you don't have them available, so this will be your main option, which again is understandable. You will get value from the champion. Like, I'm not trying to diss the champion. I'm just trying to make you understand if the champion will have some value on your account. Like, if it's really worth it to break the bank and go for the fusion, The passive, again, fairly interesting. When the enemy revives, you're going to use the A2. Now, this will remove the buffs from them, will put a weaken. And it's not necessarily the most insane thing to do. They still have turn meter. They will still get a turn if your Nuka doesn't wipe them off. And if you don't have this skill and your Nuka takes a turn, most probably will wipe them off anyway, So it's not like it's going to change this with a passive. What could be interesting on him, honestly, is when they revive and to have damage on him, so he nukes with this. He has a 0.25 multiplier. So when an enemy revives the team with lower HP, you have a chance to just send them back from where they came if you build him for damage. So that can be an interesting thing. And I'm not taking it away from the champion that he's going to be very useful in Tag Team Arena for a lot of you guys progressing to get your Amantu missions, So that's pretty much everything that I have to say about the champion, guys. Try to look at it from this perspective to understand if the champion will really give you a lot of value on your account. Personally, if would be after my own mind, my own strategies for Arena, I would not replace a key champion from my team just for this skill, okay? I will not do it. I would rather get in Mitrala to give me the increased defense, give me survivability, give me cleanse, plus I can land petrification on the enemy at the same time. Mitrala is not stats needy because she has an amazing passive which increases her resistance by 1 for each 1 accuracy that she has. So it's already much easier to counter the polymorph in the lower levels without going the extra mile, But let me know your opinion in the comments down below, and I'm very curious to see how many of you guys will go for this fusion. I will start a poll on the channel, so please take a moment and let me know if you're going for it with a yes or a no. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.